Okay, Wallace, if you can give us your first name, where you were born, and what you did as a youngster.
My name is Wallace DawkinS, and I was born in South Sioux City, Nebraska, and I grew up kind of as a cowboy. My dad was a veterinarian. We had horses, grew up on a farm. We'd do chores in the morning, and in the evenings we belonged to a saddle club, and as a kid, loved to ride horses and do rope tricks. Also loved to roller skate, and that's about it. I was in Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Webelos.
Tell us about roller skating.
Well, back in the 70s, it was a big thing, and so Friday night we used to go roller skating in town, and then as we got a little bit older, there was skating across in another town that was a bigger city, Sioux City, Iowa, and we used to go roller skate and do tricks and skate, play foosball there and pinball machines and stuff like that, so it was kind of fun.
Disco roller skating?
Yeah, they had a lot of disco music. Back then it was like the Bee Gees and stuff like that, so
it was a good time.
it was a very good time.
So, any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have an identical twin named Walter DawkinS, and I have an older sister named Sharon DawkinS.
Okay. Obviously you were in the Navy.
Yes. Actually, I started my military career out when I was 18, and I joined the Army, enlisted, and I went to Fort Bliss, Texas to do my basic training, and I was a gunner on a chaparral, which is a air defense artillery tank, and they had 4 little missiles I was in a turret where you would turn around and shoot at aircraft.
So with your brother and sister, did you guys ever play Army or anything like that?
Oh, as kids we did. I think a lot of kids play Army, and when we were growing up, it was cowboys and Indians and stuff like that. But
Yep.
yes.
G.I. Joe?
Yep. We actually, I think about 6 or 7, we both got G.I. Joe, like the tanks and the little Jeeps with G.I. Joe and stuff like that, and we play with those as kids. So always kind of liked the military.
So is that kind of where it developed to kind of a love for you, saying, you know what, when I get of age, I want to go into the military?
Yeah, and then, there was, as kids, you see the movies and stuff, of the, different movies of the military and stuff like that. Kind of intrigues you and stuff, so.
Okay. So you go to basic training. What was that like for you?
It's a little shock, being from a small town in Nebraska. You go there and there's people from like Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, all over, and it's the first time being away from home. And when you're away from home, you're in basic training and you're up at 3:30 in the morning, and you have drill sergeants yelling at you most of the day. They break you down a lot when you first get there, and then they build you up as a team and let you know how to work with each other and different people from different cultures and stuff.
So any of those instructors still stick with you to this day that you can remember?
Yeah, I had a senior drill sergeant that was, he was hard on us, but he made it fun kind of, when you're low crawling and stuff, he'd say funny things. But I just remember him telling us he said, even though most of you guys are out here right now, there's a good chance that 80% of you will go to war someday, if you stay in the military. And he actually went to Vietnam, and he had told us stories about how he wasn't old enough to even sign up. I think he signed up when he was 16, got a fake birth certificate, and he went over to Vietnam when he was 17. And a lot of his friends got killed over there and stuff. So he just prepared us, about always being prepared, keeping your head down and stuff like that. Just a very smart guy when it came to survival.
You spent time overseas in the service. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the Army back in the 90s. We were in like Central America, so I went to Honduras. I went to Honduras twice. Went to Panama. We were in Panama when Noriega got kicked out, and they kind of put in their own leader there. It was kind of a dangerous time. They were like snipers killing American troops. I was at Fort Clayton at the time. Also been to Guatemala. We weren't supposed to be in Nicaragua, but I actually did a mission where I was a videographer, or a person that took the videotape of a bridge that was blown up between Nicaragua and Panama. And so we went there, and to get there, I just landed, and a guy came over and said, "Hey, the colonel wants to talk to you." I went over and he said, "Hey, we have a mission. We want you to go to Nicaragua." And I said, "Okay, when are you guys leaving?" He said, "It leaves in 10 minutes." And I had just got in country, boots on the ground. And so he said, "You don't have to accept it." And I said, "Yeah, I'll go." And so it was like the first mission that was not just Army. There was 2 engineers there to design a new bridge. There was a couple of CIA guys there. We took off in a helicopter. We flew about 10 miles close to the border. They had air defense artillery like Stingrays and stuff. So we ended up going in a Jeep the rest of the way. We met a 2-star general from Panama and went over. It was a successful mission, but it was like, I think at the time I was maybe in my mid-20s, and it was the first mission that I went on that was kind of dangerous and stuff. And so and since we went, back in the 90s, we were doing a lot of stuff. They were called skirmishes. They weren't actually a war. And so spent a lot of time in Central America in the Army. I was in the Guard. I ended up getting out of the Guard in about 97, completely got out of the military. And then a friend of mine said, "You're a public affairs officer, you can get into the Navy. You can get a direct commission and come into the Navy." So I filled out a lot of paperwork, a packet, and submitted a packet, and took a direct commission into the Navy as a lieutenant junior grade. And while my time in the Navy, I went to, PAC Fleet, which is Pacific Fleet, which is doing time in San Diego, Hawaii, and places like that. But in 2010, I got called to war to go to Iraq. So I went to Iraq in 2010 and was there into 2010, 2011. And at that time, I went over there and was basically a one-person working with the Army. And so my job over there, I worked on a target sync board where we worked with the Navy SEALs, and we would get information and stuff and come up with targets that were enemies of the United States or had killed U.S. troops. And so on the target sync board, what we would do is get enough information, and we would send out an arrest warrant to the SEALs, and they would go out and collect up this person or persons and turn them over to the Iraqi justice system, and they would go through their court system. But it really didn't work. While we were there, Iran would send their CIA in, and they would influence the judges to let them go. They would either kill the judges or kill their family members. So after about 6 months of this, the 4-star said, "We're going to take off our gloves," because we were still getting American troops killed.
Right.
And so at that time, the new order would be a kill order. We would get enough information. If they'd taken enough U.S. troops or enough lives from U.S., we would send the SEALs out to actually take this person's life or do a kill order. And so I did that job for most of the time while I was over there in Iraq. Different situation, different war than some of the other ones. When we were in Iraq, I was in Camp Victory, which was part of Baghdad, and we were surrounded by the enemy. We had a big post there, but they would still shoot snipers at once in a while, and they would send their rockets over the walls to try and kill us. One of the big secret things that was there that we didn't want to get out to the public and stuff was a lot of suicides, especially among our younger troops and stuff. You take a young kid away from his home, 18, 19 years old, send them there, and the girlfriend breaks up with them or something like that, and we had a high suicide rate, either 1 or 2 each week. And so that's some of the stuff that sticks in my mind about being in Iraq. The other thing about being in Iraq that you realize is that the United States it's a great country. Even though they had some of the amenities, their sewer system, you'd always kind of smell it, and you'd have to walk a block to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. So, a lot of people ask me, what's the best thing about coming back? Well, the best thing about coming back is to be able to just go to the bathroom, you know, with running water and stuff, not having to use the outhouse and stuff like that.
So the last day for you, when you stepped away, what was it like?
You know, it was kind of, you know, we were pulling out when I was there up to the pullout of all the troops. So it was kind of weird because there's a lot of destruction of stuff that they weren't taking back, you know, furniture and stuff they would destroy. They didn't want the enemy to get or leave it there. And so my last day, you know, in Iraq, I just remember thinking, man, I got through this and I was alive, you know. I always thought everything else in my life, no matter how hard it is or whatever, is like water off a duck's back. Once you've been in a foreign country, my most dangerous time was traveling from Camp Victory to the Green Zone. You know, we'd have to travel back in convoys, and that's a lot of times when the enemy would attack you and stuff. And so, you know, to get out of there alive, you know, and be able to come back to your family, I just thought, you know, that last day I was so happy just getting on that flight, flying back home and stuff. So.
Were there any fellow soldiers that were with you that weren't able to return?
Yeah, you know, I worked with a young troop, you know, that was in the supply and stuff, and the guy was a great runner. I won't say his name or anything, but he was just a really good runner, and he ran track and stuff, and we had, you know, these other subcontractors that were there, and they were from like Nigeria and stuff, and when they didn't run, he'd win the track meet, you know, like the 5K or the 10K and stuff like that. But when they were there, he would always get third or fourth. And he was a happy guy, and you know, and kind of surprised me. He took his own life, but I remember him a lot. He's heavy on my mind. Just he'd always have a smile. He did his job very good, and he enjoyed what he did and stuff. So it came at a big shock to lose that kid, actually.
So you work in Williston, North Dakota right now. You started in Texas and then came up here, correct?
Actually, I was in Williston, North Dakota from 2013 to 2015 during the oil boom. I was a branch manager at Southwest Oilfield Products, and I left. I took a job back in Nebraska. That didn't work out, and they wanted someone to come back up here. And so they asked me to come back, and they're looking for another branch manager. But until they hire someone, I am back up in Williston, and my home is still in Nebraska. I live in Ashland, Nebraska, actually. And so I'm up here 3 weeks, and I get to go home 1 week. But right now, since we don't have anyone, and the other person that was working up here quit, I might be up here for like the next 6 or 8 weeks before I actually get to go home again. So,
what can you say you took from the service that helped you in that position?
well, one of the things I think from the service is communicating with other people. Learning to work with other people, going out to the rigs, having a no quit. When someone's upset, you know, I don't let it bother me. I still try and get out and talk to people and stuff. And when I had sales reps and like an office person, I never ordered them around and stuff. I always had the team atmosphere. Hey, we're trying to get this job done together, and it made us very profitable. We were probably one of the best branches out of like, let's say 20 branches. We were like number 1 or number 2 most of the time. And we worked hard, but I gave the guys a lot of time off, and we did stuff together, you know, like pizza parties and stuff like that. And they knew that I wouldn't have them do anything that I wouldn't do. And I think when you have that type of attitude and you work with people, they like to come to work, and you get more done. So.
Great. Wallace, first of all, I want to thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to do the interview.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.